Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of Iconic Freedom, The Formula. Here we set a standard for accountability and responsibility, the ownership of your choices and your outcomes and everything that follows. Let each care for self and all will be cared for. So when I talk about the formula, we talk about that periodic chart that you see on the various websites that this is posted on, where you create those elements that come together and bring harmony to your life. And if one of those elements in your life is not working, then you extract it and you reevaluate it and, again, bring that harmony to your life. There comes a moment, I think, quiet, unannounced, when explaining simply ends. It's not because you're angry. It's not because you have a feeling of superiority. It's not even because you've withdrawn, but it's because something inside of you has completed. It's almost as though reality and you and the universe come together, and it's telling the universe and the universe saying to you, you complete me, right? How fun. You've noticed you're no longer rehearsing conversations in your head. You're no longer preparing defenses or assembling evidence as though you're some sort of lawyer, pleading a case. And you no longer have that sense of, somebody has to see you, that they have to pay attention to you, they have to hear you. You no longer need to do that. You didn't necessarily decide to stop explaining, you just did. So let me clarify. This is not arrogance, because arrogance needs an audience and applause, and it likes to be loud because it wants to be heard. And it's not withdrawal, it's not avoidance, it's not fear dressed up as distance, right? When people try to be distant. And it's not punishment. You're not withholding yourself to teach anyone a lesson, because if you're doing those behaviors, then you're manipulating and controlling, and you're not in your own integrity and character. This is something far quieter. This is completion. Completion is when the nervous system no longer feels compelled to justify its own existence. Completion is when your integrity no longer needs to be declared because it's observed. Completion is when you realize that people who are committed to misunderstanding you will never be persuaded by clarity or explaining. And people who are responsible and accountable for themselves, they will never need your explanation to begin with. I think it's a lovely byproduct of your health when you start recognizing very clearly those who are your tribe, who need no explanation, and those who clearly are not your tribe. So here's the part that I think most people really don't want to hear. Explaining is often a search for permission. The permission to choose or to change or to leave, to stand still or to not choose. And when permission is being sought, when you're still doing that, clarity then feels threatening. So if you're listening to this season and something feels uncomfortable, good. Because discomfort is often the nervous system realizing that it no longer needs to outsource authority. Instead, you're polishing and honing that skill of internal authority, trusting the self to know what is correct for you, and using your agency to take action for yourself. And here's a reality that once you accept that responsibility of choice that obligates accountability of outcomes, there's nothing left to explain. I'll say it again. Once you accept that responsibility of choice that obligates accountability of outcomes, there is nothing left to explain. You chose, you observed, you adjusted, or you didn't. Either way, the outcome belongs to you, and ownership doesn't narrate itself. It doesn't need to. It's observed for those that know how to observe. And those that do not, it's not going to matter. Silence isn't that emptiness. Silence is a signal to you. It says, I'm no longer negotiating reality. I'm no longer performing coherence for other, and I'm no longer explaining what you are unwilling to examine yourself. The silence isn't cold. It's very clean. And here's the piece I think most people miss that I observe is people who are still demanding explanations are often avoiding their own responsibility. Your silence confronts them with that. And that's why it feels uncomfortable for them, not for you. You don't care. And it's not even that you don't care. It just doesn't exist. This season 4, isn't about convincing. It's about what we started with 4 weeks ago. It's about embodiment. It's about what happens when choice is no longer debated. Your standards are no longer announced, they're observed. And integrity no longer needs witnesses. Those that will observe it can see it. Those that are not in their own path of accountability, responsibility, they won't see it. And nothing you say or do is going to change it. You're not trying to be understood. You're being aligned with your reality. If you're still looking for permission, then this season will feel uncomfortable. And we know that that's good because that discomfort isn't rejection. It's an invitation. It's your universe. It's reality saying that to stand where explanations are no longer required means you need to look at your internal authority and move with it. That small whisper in your ear of that moment. Last week, I had received a text on Sunday night that one of our admins was needing to take Monday off and wasn't sure if she was taking the entire week off. Didn't explain, nor did she need to. But something whispered to me that she was going to quit. And then yesterday I found out that she did. And it was just very interesting because as I went through my week, I moved with the other admin to help her take on some of the role that the one who quit was working on previously. And what was so great was by the end of the week, nobody was concerned. They were like, we got it. We're going to take care of it. And I thought it was quite remarkable, that whisper in your ear. So for this week's observation, though, my current assignment has me in a director position where often I think it seems like that role is explaining all the time. However, in Greg's universe, in my universe, I don't explain. I merely direct and offer choice. I let others know who would report to me, what the policy is, and the expectations. Then I just naturally move on to the next task. If clarification is needed, then certainly I can provide it, and I do. But most of the time, it's easy as I don't tend to be loquacious or over-explaining because I'm uncomfortable or I'm uneasy or I'm having some emotion that needs covering up, or I need somebody to make me feel better, by what they say because I had to drop, some uncomfortable news for them. I easily speak to the reality and I move on. When I focus on speaking to the reality, I don't need to explain anything. I step back, I observe the reality unfolding, It's truly that easy, and it's that simple. Okay, hit that like button if you would. Share it with your family and friends. You never know how it might support them in their endeavor. All the fun links are below, and if you're inclined, feel free to subscribe on Buzzsprout. I am on X and Truth Social, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. The link to my newest book, The Christmas Cookie, Stories from the Counter, is listed below. I'd be grateful and honored if you chose to pick up a copy. It's a collection of heartwarming stories that I quietly say unfold the very principles that we talk about here each week. And until next time, stay sharp, stay sovereign, and as always, remember, let each care for self, and all will be cared for. Make it a great week.